Blue plans and 44 other state Medicaid programs. Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi state Medicaid programs spend less than $500,000 on the test annually, but that does not count expenses averted because more expensive procedures like colonoscopies, 3 times the expense, are averted, or more serious treatments due to delayed diagnosis. This legislation is supported by physicians throughout the state and national advocacy groups. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Yes, Representative Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Oliver, just looking at this bill, I want to tell you, I think you got a good heart. But my question, have you checked your pocketbook?
We have.
Do we
have a
really have
note.
the money in the general fund to deal with Medicaid with an additional $1 million?
Well, I'm going to tell you that we are going to dispute the numbers by looking at other states. We don't believe the fiscal note is correct.
I think you need to get that correct because, I mean, listening at our budget hearing and looking where we are with Medicaid and the state of Alabama, we're in dire straits.
Oh, I understand that perfectly. And who would have ever thought you and I would be having this conversation? What we believe, though, and what I believe, is that if you literally detect 2, 3, 4 cases out of the Medicaid population, you will pay for this.
I was just concerned about the money.
I'm concerned about the money, but think of what it
great.
costs to pay for delayed treatment for colorectal cancer. And this is a target population group.
I understand that. It's just the money that I'm concerned about.
Well, it is the money, but it costs us more not to do it than to do it, is what I believe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments before we take a motion? Marcus, okay. Representative Marcus.
How many other states in the union do this in the country?
I don't have the exact number, but nearly all, as far as I know.
Well, if we save one person, that's worth it.
Absolutely.
I make a motion that we approve the bill.
Okay. Second by Representative Rigsby. I do think there's some counterbalances. If they do this, there'll be less costs here, and it doesn't give any cost savings. It only gives cost of what the additional test would be, but not what it's pulling from on the other side.
Absolutely.
So, all right, we have a first and second on the floor. All those in favor of giving this favorable report by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against by nay. Bill passes with favorable report.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next bill is HB 79, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I have House Bill 79, which last year we passed a bill by Senator Orr that extended protections to doctors that prescribe off-label medications. And what an off-label medication is it's an approved drug used for an unapproved situation. Example would be like antidepressants used for migraines, to treat migraines, diabetes drugs used to treat weight loss. It's used a lot in chemotherapy where it's for one type of cancer and then doctors use it for another type of cancer. So last year we passed a bill that extended protections to doctors, and all this does is extend that to pharmacists that they're able to write that prescription and not face any kind of backlash.
Representative Mooney.
I was just, I don't know if it's on, I can't tell. Anyway, question for you is this. I don't think it's fair to characterize it as unapproved. I think it's more fair to characterize it as a use for which it has not been directed by a physician on the basis of the doctor-patient relationship with informed consent, because we know that there are many, many drugs that have been found to be useful for other things.
Right.
So I wouldn't characterize it as unapproved.
Which actually most medications now have multiple uses that weren't their original intent. That's right. That's right. Thank you.
I remember some home remedies when I was growing up that wasn't approved, and they worked too. That's right. That's exactly right. Representative Shiree.
So I'm going to go against what Representative Mooney said. I think you should use FDA approved because FDA approves these medicines for a certain thing. However, we use these off-label all the time for a lot of other things. I will ask you that pharmacists don't write prescriptions. They just fill the prescription.
That's right.
So this is coming from.
It's coming from, and then actually in the legislation it has in there, if it's a prescription from a doctor, then, they're just put in a situation where they don't have any protections that the doctor enjoys. So this is just extending that down to them.
Absolutely. I have people call me all the time that says, hey, my doctor wrote me this prescription for X, and my pharmacist refuses to fill it.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm all for your bill.
Representative Mooney?
I would be less than truthful if I didn't say I'm thankful that all FDA-approved medicines are not what people use, because I know specifically of cases I can give you where people have been helped, possibly even their lives saved by non-FDA-approved uses, but where scientifically the evidence from studies and the work of doctors provided the information to patients to understand the consequences possibly, but at the same time the opportunities, and in which it did at that time help save their lives or make their lives better by healing them quicker.
I'll move, Chairman.
Motion by Representative Lipscomb. Second by Representative, since he was so adamant about it, Representative Mooney. Second, and all those in favor by saying aye. Aye. Those against by nay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Passes. Thank you.
Thank you, members.
All right, we have a public hearing called. Let me lay some ground rules down for this. We have 2 that are in support of this bill and 4 that oppose it. So what I will do is the 2 that support will get 3 minutes each. The first 2 that oppose it will get 3 minutes each. And I will allow the next 2 to have 1 minute. That way the last 2 that has signed up will have already heard what the others say, and it may not be as redundant, but we would also like, before we do that, the bill that is on the table today is by Senator Weaver. It's SB 79.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's great to be back with the House Health Committee today. It's like old times.
Yep.
Good to see everybody. We are here today to bring you SB 79, What is a Woman Act. And I'll just simply start off by saying some of the things that you guys probably heard me say in the Senate last week. This bill is based on fundamental truths that are as old as the book of Genesis and are as reliable as the sun in the sky. Men are born men, women are born women. This is the simplest and easiest to understand bill that you will consider during this entire session. Simply definitions, provides precise definitions for the words of man, woman, male, female, boy, girl, mother, father. And with that, I have another meeting upstairs in the Senate, but I wanted to be here today to thank you for hearing this bill in committee today. Representative Dubose and I have tag teamed this bill for a couple of years now, and with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I would like to pass it off to Representative Dubose and let her take it from here through the House.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Representative DuBose.
I will be brief. This bill has been before this committee before. It's been before the Judicial Committee. It's passed out, and this will be our 3rd year to hear this bill, and thank you for giving us one more opportunity. I wish I didn't have to be here today. I wish we didn't need to define what a man is or a woman is, but we do. When you have a Supreme Court justice who could not define what a woman is, despite being one herself, looks like we're going to have to codify this into Alabama law. So we do need to pass this law for clarity, certainty, and uniformity in the courts and in the laws of Alabama. We have used the word woman 149 times in our Alabama laws. When these laws were passed, it was assumed that these words were tied to biology. This bill clarifies the original meaning of sex-based terms in our statutes. It ensures that laws passed by the legislature are applied as this body intended and not twisted by judges or bureaucrats. And in fact, 85% of Alabamians on both sides of the aisle think it is important that our state pass a law to define sex-based terms. In Alabama, we have common sense. We know what a woman is. We know that God created us as man or woman and that our sex is fixed and determined at birth. This bill doesn't take away anyone's rights or create any special rights for women. As April said, as Senator Weaver said, this is the simplest and easiest bill you will consider this entire session. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the appropriate opportunity.
Okay, we'll do that after public hearing. All right, Ms. Michael Ann's going to call these out. Just to let you know, we have a clock. She will use the stopwatch here. And whether you're for it or against it, at the end of your time, we will cut you off in the middle of the sentence. So I want to be fair to both sides. All right, the first 4 will get 3 minutes, and then the last 2 will have 1 minute. Okay?
Okay. Bishop Tim Lowe.
All right, thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. And these words that I want to say is that since creation, it has been universally accepted that God, the supreme authority in the universe, created human beings as male and female, designing them with complementary bodies and an unchangeable genetic identity to fulfill his command to be fruitful and multiply. As a result, throughout history, every person has been identified as either male or female. Even in the account of Noah's Ark, God instructed both males and females to be brought aboard to repopulate the earth after the flood. However, in recent times, some have challenged the long-standing understanding that there are just male and female distinctions, advocating for additional categories based on individual perceptions and feelings rather than biological reality. And this has been done to accommodate the feelings of some individuals who feel different from the bodies they were born with and identify with something else. Now, while individuals may experience strong personal convictions about their identity, it remains essential that laws provide clear and objective definitions of male and female to protect the rights, safety, and well-being of all individuals and society as a whole. Scientific evidence consistently demonstrates that males possess XY chromosomes in nearly all cells, while females have XX chromosomes. This fundamental biological reality will remain unchanged regardless of a person's identification or lifestyle choices. So therefore, legal definitions should be grounded on objective scientific facts rather than subjective emotions to ensure consistency in law and policy for the best health of the individual and the good of all society. Therefore, I strongly support SB 79, which provides necessary legal clarity on this matter, and I urge this committee to issue a favorable report.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Amy Kennedy.
Hello. I am thankful to be here to speak to everyone today. I am strongly against Bill SB 79, and I think before I get into any of those reasons, I'd like to start off by sharing a personal ruminations with everyone here. My grandmother died this past summer. She was nearly 95 years old, born in the 1930s. People think slavery was a long time ago, but think, me, my grandmother, and the people who raised her, and the people who were in her life in the 1930s, the people who raised her at that time were people who were slaves in the 1860s. That's one generation from me to them. This is the Alabama state government trying to tell you what a woman is. Not too long ago, the Alabama state government couldn't tell you what a person was. SB 79 creates a narrow definition of men and women. Passing SB 79 is beyond dangerous. It's reckless legislation. When you create a narrow definition of who qualifies for rights, you create space to harm everyone who doesn't fit that definition, especially if that definition is based on incorrect assumptions that ignore modern medical science. This bill erases trans people, erases intersex people, and erases the experience of everyday Alabamians who know what a woman is and see one when they look in the mirror every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Becky Garrettson.
Welcome back, everybody. It's nice to see you. Nice to have this committee going again. I'm Becky Garrettson from Eagle Forum of Alabama, and we support SB 79 for all the reasons that maybe Senator one day, Representative DuBose has already stated.
Don't give her a demotion.
And Bishop Lowe also. But there's an additional reason for you to consider passing this bill, and that is the accuracy of Alabama's vital records. States are mandated to collect and record vital statistics, which serve as a foundational data set for understanding health trends, creating public health policies, planning healthcare services, and even making decisions related to economic development and education programs within our state. Defining male and female in law is essential for maintaining high-quality vital statistics that will be used in the creation of these important public policy decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Sam Bartley.
Hello, my name is Jordan Price, but I'll be reading the testimony of Sam Bartley, who couldn't be here today. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, my name is Samuel Bartley of District 55. I'm a biologist holding a master's degree and currently working on a doctorate. Senate Bill 79 captures my attention as it attempts to use biological language to justify and inform policy. I would like to address the rhetoric regarding biological sex. This bill invents definitions that biologists don't actually use. Proponents of this bill would have you believe that these definitions are immutable, citing university partners as a source of authority, but this is an affront to my field. A fundamental tenet of biology is that definitions shift with new information. Claiming that definitions are immutable betrays that these are not biologists that made this bill. But if they are, they should be deeply ashamed. I invite these university partners to attend the open forum, offer their credentials, and discuss how they generated these definitions, because they're not based in biology. A common point is that these definitions are as old as Genesis. Common sense. Bear in mind that God reveals truth to man always in ways we can understand. In Genesis, this included a barrier, the firmament, separating the waters of heaven from the waters of earth. But if we look to Genesis for these definitions, then the International Space Station would be drowning as it orbits the earth. Likewise, Genesis cannot be relied upon to inform us of the rich tapestry of current biological knowledge. In doing so, we insult the complexity of the wondrous and great creation which lay before us. The definitions in this bill contain factual information, but this information is misused and irrelevant to the bill's findings. Here's another biological fact. Lighter skin makes vitamin D more efficiently than darker skin. Should this fact inform state agencies as to what color of skin can use what space? We as a nation have already decided on the answer. No. These definition changes echo racist past, betraying that they are a cudgel to promote an ideology. Ideas are not put forth, bills written without motivation. Why not add that humans have eyes? Why argue that this doesn't change how people identify? The answer is obvious. There is an agenda at hand. This bill surreptitiously targets trans people. It conflates existence with crime. It decides where someone is and is not allowed to exist. I entreat you, ask yourselves the following. Does this bill intend to criminalize a person for their actions, or does it intend to criminalize a person for just being? Think on this question as you vote today. Do not succumb to the temptation of peeping inside the people of Alabama. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could you tell me your name again so I can write it down?
Jordan Price.
Jordan Price.
It's number 4 on the list.
Okay. Sorry about that. Zephyr Spalzetti?
Just trying to get my own timer so I didn't run over. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Zephyr Scalzetti. I'm represented by Joe Lavorne in HD 79, just a few streets over from Representative Jeremy Gray's district. Sorry, I looked on the wrong space there. War Eagle. Legislation like SB 79 claims that I am in fact a woman, though legally that I have a right, an obligation even, to be in women's spaces like the bathroom or the changing room. After all, I was born with a uterus and ovaries that presumably contain ova if my heavy periods are any indication, and that's all that matters under this bill. This bill defines female as an individual who has had, will have, or would have, but for a developmental anomaly, genetic anomaly, or accident, the reproductive system that at some point produces ova. And that includes me. Do you want to walk into the women's bathroom and see me? Do you want your daughters to do that? If this is how you want to define things, if this is how you want society to look like, I look forward to using the women's restroom in the State House going forward. In fact, I've really missed that neat lounge in the women's rooms. It used to be such a nice place to relax and get a moment's peace. Maybe I should act like a woman and start wearing dresses again. I'll end with this.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right. Representative DuBose, would you like to come up?
Do any of you all have any questions that I need to address at this point?
Representative Warren?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have not had a chance to read this bill. How are we addressing those who are born with both sexes?
Yes, ma'am, that is addressed in the bill. Those are called people that are intersex or DSD, and it says that they must be accommodated consistent with state and federal law. I can read you the whole thing. It says there are only two sexes and every individual is either male or female. The term sex is objective and fixed. Individuals with differences in sex development, also known as DSDs or intersex condition, are not a third sex. Individuals with a congenital or medically verified DSD must be accommodated consistent with state and federal law.
Representative Rafferty?
Well, I'd like to piggyback off my colleague here because on page 5 on lines 131 and 132, you have asserted that there's two sexes, which I think a lot of people would probably agree with. But I want to look at this one question here and see, because you carved this part out here, the subsection shall not be construed to prohibit the entry of unknown as a sex on the child's birth certificate, fetal death, or death when sex cannot be medically determined. So where is, so if, they're either one, the other, then where is this unknown category? Is there a certain point where they would be, where they would fit in?
Right, so that unknown is used on birth certificates. Mm-hmm. In the case of an intersex person or a person with DSD, when they are born, if their sex cannot be determined at birth, perhaps their genitalia is inside their body and they just can't tell by a visual inspection, then at that time it would be checked unknown. This has happened 4 times in the last 5 or 6 years in the state of Alabama. It's extremely rare, but those individuals have always been protected according to our laws, and that's what I was referring to.
Protected by what?
Well,
So what
Americans for Disability
bathroom would
Act.
they use in this situation?
Which what?
What public facility would they use in this situation?
Well, at birth, they're just little bitty babies.
I'm talking about like when they are older.
They would make that choice and they would be accommodated. Those rare people would be accommodated. They would make the choice based on their internal organs. Their parents would at that time.
So they would make a choice. Okay.
Well, they would be able to determine based on their
sense of
determine.
self. an innate sense of self that would allow
No, I wouldn't.
that would tell them to go, how they're going to make a choice, correct?
They are either male or female at that point.
Okay.
And
But they're deciding.
the parents decide based on their internal organs. And there's other ways. You can take, you can do a sampling of skin, but they're either male or female at that point. You just can't tell by the visual inspection.
Got it. I mean, and I understand.
It's very, very rare.
I understand it's rare, but we got to understand how part of this committee and what our job is to do is to make sure what any unintended consequences might be and how this might affect the individual, because we are a nation that believes in individual rights.
That's right. That's right. And this
So every
DSD
individual
conditions have
right?
existed for a long time.
So I guess another thing is, a common refrain I kept hearing was that this is so simple, that it's common sense, that these definitions are as old as Genesis itself, okay? So Genesis was written in probably about 1450 BCE, right? I don't think they had any idea what a sperm or ovum was, because we didn't discover those until 1677 and 1827, respectively. Also, the definition of this bill, as you brought it before this committee and others over the past, 3 years, I believe, they've evolved as well. So you're saying that it's a simple bill, that this is common sense, but yet the definitions of what it is keep changing on your own bill, that you're trying to make this point and clear. So like even through the evolution of this bill, you can see that it's more complicated or more complex than what you perhaps are making it out to be. So I just trying to see, where are these definitions kind of coming from? If you can kind of give me any more information on that.
Well, they're all biological definitions based on the reproductive system. So it's just
But it's changed.
ova or sperm.
It has changed. This is not the same exact bill that we had last year, and it's not the same exact bill we had 2
It's always been based on the internal reproductive organs.
Right, okay. But why is it also different than Trump's executive order that was just put forward? Why is it different from
And
there?
his are also based on biological reproductive organs. He just used, I think mine uses the word
he
ova
uses
and sperm.
chromosomes even. I mean, he goes down to...
Ours is ova and sperm, and his is large. I've read his, and they were actually written
His
by...
is females means a person belonging at conception, okay? So
Yeah.
we're talking about not, a fully developed human being at this point, to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell, which is the ova. That's the only cell you can see with the naked human eye, everyone.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
pretty neat fun fact. Male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell.
Correct.
Right. So why is
They're
that
both
the
based on-
difference than, so where is the, why is yours kind of different?
Well, I think the point is that they're both based on biology and reproductive organs.
They're trying to be, yes, I understand that that's what they're trying to do. But why is, I think I kind of beat this point down. Because the thing is that it doesn't seem like anyone really agrees. We keep hearing these terms common sense and so simple, but we're not really hearing much consensus even on people, on proponents of the bill or on this kind of move, even in the federal level. The next thing I want to talk about, I wanted to address one claim about the vital statistics. We know that actually, I'll deal with that later. I can't find it in my notes right now, so it's deep in here. But so this bill is seeking to clarify a couple of things and to what aim? I mean, where did this bill come from? Really, what are we really trying to accomplish here? Why is it so necessary if, like you said, it's so simple that we should just be able to determine it by what we see in front of us?
Well, I will tell you that one of the issues that's come up a lot lately, and we dealt with it in Alabama early on, was that men tried to invade women's sports. And that was a problem. There were men that were identifying as women invading women's sports. Women were hurt. Women were denied opportunities. Women were denied scholarships. And that is an example of the misuse of the word woman. And it's important that we protect our women. And women are disproportionately disadvantaged by the misuse of the correct definitions of the words men and women. So that's one right there.
So, but if we want to do it, then, but what about if we're trying to, but this bill's not really about that kind of thing, right? So this bill's specifically about single-sex spaces and that kind of thing. So, as one of the gentlemen said, you know, signed a female at birth, but is now a bearded man, okay? So what would, I mean, with that person going into the bathroom, do you think that that's going to stir controversy or anything along those lines? What do you see that coming? And what would then prevent a normal man, a man that was assigned male at birth, to then just say, hey, I'm a trans woman and exploit that same label, or I'm a trans man, and then go into the women's bathroom? Because, you know, what's to prevent that from happening?
Yeah, this bill doesn't create any bathroom police. This is simply defining bills.
Well, okay.
Defining terms, male, female, man, woman. It's a definitions bill.
This bill also deals with public accommodations and public and single-sex spaces.
It says that they may exist. It doesn't create them.
Representative Rafferty, let's.
Okay, one more. All right.
This is it.
So the last thing is, I think we can all agree, I think all the committee members here agree that, you know, everyone is entitled to safety and everyone is entitled to privacy. That's why I would like to introduce this amendment, if I can, that would ensure that, take one passive. That there is a reasonable expectation of privacy and that, you know, in these public facilities that may be created, that there would be no need for a monitoring device or any sort of compulsory genital inspections or anything along those lines. So I want to make sure that we're protecting people from having to have their privacy invaded as this bill becomes law and then evolves into having the consequences that would happen from there.
Representative DeBose, have you seen this amendment?
I have not. I've not seen it.
Can someone give her that, please?
Sorry to make enough copies.
You just explained the amendment, correct?
Correct, yeah. I'm happy to address any questions.
So you can give you a minute to look over it, or you can go by what he just explained and tell us how you would accept.
Yeah, I do not consider this a friendly amendment.
Okay.
Okay.
Does everyone want to look over it a second? Give you an opportunity to look at it. All right, I entertain any motion. On the amendment, a yes would accept the amendment, a no would deny the amendment. Okay, motion to accept. Is there a second? With the failure of a second, the amendment dies.
All right.
Now we're back on to the bill. I entertain motion for passage of bill. Representative Soros has the motion. Second, Representative Shiree has second. All those in favor of giving this bill a favorable report by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, nay.
Nay.
All right, that concludes, that gives the bill a favorable report. Thank you. Thank everyone that participated. This is the way it ought to happen. So thank everyone. We're dismissed.
Yeah, no, and it does. It just keeps monitoring devices out of the back for policing, that kind of thing.